Of the Crafting for Live podcast. We are so glad you're here. Go ahead, if you're listening to the podcast live, go ahead and tell us where you're from over in the comments section. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about SEO, so search engine optimization. And if you're running a small craft business, you might be like, what is that? Or you only kind of have a general idea of what search engine optimization is. But we are here to help you start ranking on search engines today. So if you have questions about SEO, go ahead and leave those in the comments, in the live comments. We are going to try and stay on topic today, and we will be answering those questions at the end of the episode. But if you have other questions for us, you can leave those in there and we can answer them on another episode. Or we do have a form below the video that you can click on and you can ask your own questions there, and we will answer those in an upcoming episode.
And thank you so much for listening, whether you're joining us on YouTube Live or you're listening through your favorite podcasting platform. The best way to support us is to rate and review the podcast on a podcasting platform or follow us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up on the video. Best way to support what we're doing here. So now we have a very special speaker this week. We are going to introduce Holly Homer, and she's with Page Wheel. And also, you might have seen her at Kids Activities blog. I feel like that's where a lot of people know you from. And she is an absolute business mastermind. So, Holly, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thanks so much. I like that, mastermind. So I am Holly Homer, and I started a blog accidentally about 20 years ago. And then I just didn't stop. So last blogger standing here. And now it does support my entire family. So it's been a really fun transition. Who knew? Who knew you could do on the internet these days?
I had the same experience. I started blogging 20 years ago. So we are like the ancient grandma people of the blogging world.
Literally the dinosaurs were roaming the internet back then.
Truly. All right.
People were like, what is a blog at that time?
I didn't know. We started it before knowing these things. I mean, who needs to know what you're doing?
Yes, I started it when I was going to graduate school to like tell my parents what I was doing in graduate school. Like it was just so long ago.
And I also realized like yesterday or today that Holly and I spoke on Google Plus at a conference many years ago. And that definitely makes us dinosaurs because Google Plus isn't even a thing anymore.
In fact, Google Plus hasn't been a thing for like, what, 8 years, 9 years? It was fantastic.
Yes, our conversation was fantastic at the conference. The platform was fantastic, and we're officially dinosaurs.
It's true.
All right. So let's start off with, because we have a lot of people here who are starting their own craft businesses and they don't even know what SEO is. So let's talk about what SEO is and why it's important.
So I feel like everybody needs to take a deep breath and realize that SEO sounds way scarier than it really is. And I think people make it sound scarier for their own benefit. But basically, all SEO means, and SEO stands for search engine optimization. And all that means is like, if you're selling something or you're publishing something, that someone who's searching for that can find it. So whether you're on Etsy and it's an Etsy search that might land them on your sales page, or you're maybe have a blog and Google is sending you traffic, or even in Pinterest. You think about Pinterest is a really big search engine where you have put pins up on your boards on certain topics and people are able to find them because they put in what we would say keywords, but really what they're trying to find, they just describe in the text.
So all of those algorithms seem like they're super mysterious, complicated. So what are your like getting started tips for all of these things, like Pinterest listings, craft listings, videos, blogs? Like what is like getting started tips?
So first of all, you are already an expert on SEO. Like, let me just throw that out there because it's not like you're not a user. You're going to YouTube and you're finding the videos you want to watch. You're going to Google and you're finding the information you want. You're going to Etsy and shopping. You're going to Amazon and shopping. You're going to Target and shopping. So all these places, you're already like figuring out how to describe something so that you get the right results. So basically the second step to that is just doing that in your benefit. So like if you have a listing on Etsy, you want to include not just the obvious words that might land someone there, but maybe the secondary or other usage words. I always think like one of the best like kind of platforms to look at this, because you have to be pretty good at SEO on Amazon to get your listing up at the top, is to go look at what the top listings are, and all the crunchy words they put into, like, it's not even a title anymore. It's like a bunch of random, but not so random words all run on together, because they know, like, if you're looking for a kid's gift, it might be a child's gift, it might be a baby gift, it might not be a gift, it might be for my kid. Like all these different ways you might phrase it. You want to make sure that you cover that, so that you don't leave something out that somebody who really wants your product would type into the search bar.
Yeah, I've been noticing that more and more on Amazon. Like, so I love books, I love reading, and if you search a book on Amazon, it's the title of the book, but it also says like rom-com, enemies to lovers. There's all these random words at the end.
It's super funny because, like, in the early days when we're bloggers, we would never think of like adding all those extra words on, but yet we see them all the time on Amazon, and our brain doesn't even register them anymore. So that's what you have to kind of get around, is not just what you think, because it's not just, you're not your only customer. There's other customers out there. So thinking about how other people might phrase it, what might they searching for, what other products similar to you might be listing as, and then finding just like kind of that constellation of related words that would help you promote your product in a really simple way, just to describe it. It's really not gaming the system. It's just finding all the descriptors so that you can be found.
Yeah, I'll tell like a little personal story just really fast because it cracks me up. Back in the days when we were not doing a lot of SEO on our blogs, but it was just sort of moving into that, I had made a DIY like geometric painted lazy Susan. Now let's talk about something that nobody is ever going to search for on the internet, right? Like there's nobody out there going, I need a DIY geometric painted lazy Susan, right? It was one of those IKEA lazy Susans and I had painted it. And I remember thinking like, nobody's going to, like once SEO started, I'm like, nobody's going to be searching for this. And so what I really needed to do on some of this like older content was figure out like, okay, what are people searching for? Are they searching for how to DIY a lazy Susan? Are they figuring out how to paint a lazy Susan? Are they figuring out, can I make a lazy Susan for a gift? Like all of these other things. And it took a long time for my brain to kind of get out of that like original blogger mindset where I'm like just making stuff for fun and putting it up and calling it what it is, to that like, okay, now I need to actually think about the keywords. Like what are people actually searching for? Because nobody's going to find it. And I think that applies to a lot of the things that crafters make, for sale, because it's like, okay, I made this particular tumbler with this very obscure thing on it or whatever. And people aren't necessarily searching for that. So you have to figure out the other keywords, like the gift ideas and the, all of those sorts of things that go along with it.
Yeah, and I love that example because, like, in that example, like my brain goes straight to like IKEA hacks.
Yeah.
People are always looking at how to repurpose something that they bought cheaply at IKEA or at the dollar store or something like that. And so, like, I might say, hey, IKEA hacks for organization of my kitchen, and land on that because you thought, oh, this is an inexpensive way to make sure you can get to the spices on the back of in the back of your cabinet.
Yes, exactly. All right, so we have question number 3 here. Is there a difference between doing SEO between like a blog post, a YouTube video, a sales page for Etsy, all of these different places? Are there like things you should know about each platform, or is it kind of, overall things that we should know in general?
Yeah, one of the things that I always think about, and Google's really good about thinking about this, as how people search and what is the intention behind their search. So you might see on Google, like if I say, hey, I need a size 9.5 shoe, or cowboy boot, which is more likely on my end. So Google will know if I'm typing in size 9.5 cowboy boot, they know I'm ready to purchase. So it's a purchase intent. So I'm going to get a whole bunch of listings from different boot stores and different boutiques and Amazon and any place that might sell a 9.5 boot. Where if I just go in and I write cute cowboy boots, that might be in between. I might get some responses from boutiques and stuff like that, but I might also get some information about how cowboy boots are made and like what types of materials a cowboy boot might have. And then if I go in and say history of cowboy boots, you can see how even though I'm using those same keywords of cowboy boots, I don't want I mean, I want 9.5, size 9.5 cowboy boots, but that's not a purchase intent. And so the way you can see how just by adding a word or two, it changes the intention. And so when you're writing, like if you're writing a listing for a purchase intent, you want to make sure that those purchase decision keywords are in there. And I love how you brought up like the gift. Like I might be looking for like a 3-year-old boy gift, and I might end up on, one of the crafts that you have listed on Etsy because it's a perfect fit for that, because you mentioned, hey, this is great for toddlers, or this is a great, homemade gift for your son or your kids at 2 years old. And then if you're writing content or DIY information, you want to make sure that Google or whoever might be searching that knows that it is content related to how to do something. So bloggers often get into this problem where they just call out the project, but they don't put the DIY or the craft language around it. So they get mixed up for a little while. They might do really well first page for a short period, but if that's a purchase intent that you're mixed up in the middle of, you're not going to stay there very long, because Google sees those indicators of people clicking through and they're like, there's nothing to buy here. And so they click back, and all of a sudden you start falling off the front page because you're not a good match with what people are searching for.
Yes, I have found this personally because I ranked for a lot of machines, right? So I used to rank for Cricut Maker, Cricut Explorer, like all these things. And those are now purchase intent. If somebody's Googling Cricut Explorer, Google thinks that they want to go purchase a Cricut Explorer instead of going to my blog. So now I have to rework a lot of my content to just be like the best Cricut machine, because if you're looking for the best Cricut machine, you may be looking to buy, but you really need that information before you buy. So it has that more informational keyword intent. But yeah, it's been a struggle having a lot of keywords that were moved from, like, before they started this whole informational, commercial transaction sort of thing. I definitely got hit by that.
Well, and if you're in that situation, I love what you said, is that there's still need for this. It's not like people aren't looking for reviews or comparisons, and they really do want a human. They don't want to go to AI or the Amazon listing where it's like check boxes and questionable reviews. They would rather have like, hey, I have these 3 machines. This is what I like about this one. This is what I like about this one. This is what I don't like about this one. Or if you have small kids, you might like this. You know what I mean? Like all the things that like we as humans might think about. And you can add that information after the fact to old content. So you might have something that said, hey, you originally was just the information about the machine you bought. But then you could go in, 4 years later and say, hey, I'm updating this today because this isn't the only machine that's available anymore. There's these other ones too. And this is why you might like this one. And this is why you might like this one. Or I rank for, it's a couch, but it's a couch I've had for 5 years. And I'm still on the front page of Google for the review words around that couch, because every year I go back and say, still have this couch 4 years later with 3 boys. And that's information that you can't get if you just go to the manufacturer. And I walk them through like how it was delivered and how I had to put it together and how I didn't have to put it together and why I chose certain fabric. And oh, by the way, here's the picture after year 1. Here's the picture after year 2. Here's the picture after year 3. Because if you have 3 boys like I do, making sure that couch is really sturdy is a really good reason to click through to my blog.
This makes me very interested. I should go click it because I've got 2 boys who like to use my couch for parkour.
See, this is why it's important that we have the stain resistant fabric.
Exactly. This is all just really important too. Like, even if you don't have, necessarily, I feel like there's a lot of people who are like, if you're on Etsy and you're like flower tumbler, like that is not enough information to give Etsy like what you're actually making. Are you selling a tumbler with flowers on it? Are you selling a image that you can make to put on a tumbler with that? Are you selling something that is handmade? Are you selling something that, like all of these different things? You just really need to like get into that mind of the buyer of like, what are they searching for that they will find your product?
Yeah, and I love like you think about, but that's the keywords. But what I want, like, what's so cool about the kind of advanced searches these days is the algorithms are really good. That I started noticing that on my blog, for instance, I was ranking for keywords that were not even in the post. So if you think about that, the contextual is super important. So how would you write that listing on Etsy for that flower tumbler if you couldn't use the words flower tumbler? So you could make probably what you could probably end up doing is creating an entire, context around that where you don't even use those words that Etsy would eventually know that, oh my goodness, she described it so well that we don't even actually need the keywords. Now, I would recommend putting the flower tumbler keywords in as well. But you can see, like, if you look at it from, what's that game where you can't say certain words, like a taboo?
No taboo. Yeah.
If you write it like a taboo, like a game, then you will actually end up a lot better off in the end, because you're thinking about like all the things and not just, because when you sit down to write these things, I know it's like blank piece of paper or a screen and you're just like flower tumbler, flower tumbler.
It's really hard to stare at that blank screen. I feel like that's, especially if you are don't have a background in any kind of writing, like you are like, I'm really crafty, I make crafts, but like, Angie, she's an engineer, right? Like that's her background. So, I mean, I was a writer, so like I understand the writing part of it and that part comes pretty easily to me, but I think there's a lot of people out there who's like, I don't know how to write a, a product description or
Well, and the other side of that is there are tools now that are really good. And one of the things that you mentioned, that the software that I've recently developed, co-founded with Rachel Miller, is called PageWheel. And we use AI to help you develop a digital product and then create sales page, delivery page, and emails all like within minutes, so that you don't have to worry about like adding all the tech to that. But on the other side of that, the AI like generates really amazing language if it is like programmed correctly. And so we do have on PageWheel Packs, which is the kind of the AI generation side of PageWheel, is you can actually say, hey, I need a listing for, and we'll prompt you to describe your product in a few things. And then it like kind of throws it all together and gives you different ways to say that. Because that's one of the things AI is really good at, is it's gone through the internet a cajillion times. I'm eye rolling because I'm a content creator, and so it already knows how to parse the words, and it knows what things are in context to each other. So this is where some of these tools are actually almost better than a human, because we are going to like rationalize, like, nobody wants to read that. Well, no, actually, it's not your customer that's really reading it. It's the algorithm that's going to deliver your customer that's going to read it.
And sometimes just not starting with a blank page is beneficial.
Yes.
Like it just generates those ideas. And even using it to say, like, what questions are people asking about flower tumblers, and making sure that you address those, like the care instructions, this and that. And sometimes you can't think of those. I don't know what people want to know about flower tumblers, but guess what? AI does.
Yeah. Well, and the other side of that is to take it that next step and say, okay, now that I have this listing and I have like social media, Pinterest, I may be on Facebook. Now, how can I talk about these flower tumblers in a way that doesn't alienate all my friends and family? Like, I'm selling flower tumblers every day. No, like if you can put in like what your product is, we have like an editorial calendar, which is a super fancy way of saying a whole bunch of ideas that you can schedule out on social media. So it will give you a whole bunch of different ways to approach that same product. So, hey, you might talk about, yes, the specifics of the flower tumbler or post a picture about one a day, but then you can also look at, hey, look how it kept my drink cool, at the beach, or look how it makes a great gift for my mother-in-law for Mother's Day. All these different things that when we're in the middle of scheduling out social media or, planning out a promotional plan, we get so tunnel vision because like we made this amazing thing and then we forget that in order to sell it, there's a few additional steps.
Yes, I feel like that is all very accurate to my own experience.
And then when you have like the different platforms, Like you're selling a flower tumbler on Etsy. Maybe you have a blog and you do a blog post about how to care for tumblers and target some of those other keywords that AI has like given you the ideas for, pointing back to your flower tumbler that you have for sale on Etsy.
Exactly. And then going even a step further, if you have gift guides for the different reasons you would buy a flower tumbler, Teacher Appreciation Week is this week. So of course your teacher needs a flower tumbler, but thinking about like when you start actually looking at when you look at the context, and SEO is kind of fun because it's going to make you look at the context around the product, is all of a sudden you see, oh, I could make a pin that, yes, shows the flower tumbler, but I could also make a pin about the best teacher appreciation gift. Maybe I'm going to do the flower tumbler with a seed packet inside or something like that. So all of a sudden it becomes the basis of content creation and not just a product that you're like trying to push on the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think we can move on to question 4. So question 4, and this is about local SEO. So should someone focus on local SEO if they just sell their crafts primarily like in their local area? Or should they kind of aim for a broader audience?
So I love this idea because I think there's super great benefits to both. And by the way, Google treats local SEO completely different. It's almost in its own bubble from national SEO. So, which means that if you have the ability for someone to come pick up, and it's all about timing these days on the internet, is like, if I have a week and a half to order it, then they'll probably go order it online. But you think about like the way we live busy lives is like, oh my goodness, like Mother's Day is tomorrow and I need to get X, Y, and Z. And that's when you as a local business person that has these amazing products, like can edge out the entire internet really, really quickly by speed of being able to access it. So the other thing is like maybe you are in some local boutiques. All these different ways is if you can create maybe on your website or your landing page, all these different places that you can find these things using local words and reasons why people might come to you locally. That doesn't take away from the fact that you might have that exact same thing on Etsy, but that listing is going to be in a different place in Google than what those local things are. So if you have the ability to be in your local boutique, which is amazing because those local boutiques are going to do better with local products anyway, because as I walk into that boutique and I'm like, oh my goodness, this girl that does this lives in my town, I'm much more likely to pick up it as a purchase. But then also you give that boutique unique things that they're trying to compete into that local flavor versus the online world as well. So it's really kind of a neat thing, especially if you are selling locally. And you think about like the farmer's market or something like that. Hey, I'm going to be at the farmer's market next, on the first Sunday of every month. Here's what my booth looks like. This is what I'll have. If you want to do pre-orders, I'll have it available for you. Giving people ways to buy local and telling them on the internet will give context to Google and to other search engines that you are a local business as well.
That makes really good sense because I feel like there is so much room like in the niche for hyper local gear, right? I talk about this, I think I've talked about this before on the podcast, so I live in Bellingham, Washington, and people who live in Bellingham, Washington are obsessed with Bellingham, Washington. Like we love it here. We want to put it on all of our cars. Like every car here has like a Bellingham sticker on it. People are wearing sweatshirts. I mean, we are just like in love with our town. And so if you go to a craft fair, there's always people making Bellingham hoodies and Bellingham t-shirts, and those booths are always packed. And people come up with their own interesting ways to represent Bellingham on their shirts. And I feel like that's a really good instance of having that sort of hyper local Google content, right? Where people know this is for Bellingham. Like there is not somebody in Schenectady, New York that's going to be like, I need a Bellingham t-shirt. There's just, it's just not a thing that people moved. Need. Unless they moved, maybe. But yeah, so I mean, like, I feel like being able to kind of hone in on that local piece, I mean, even if you do sell your Bellingham shirts online, is still a really good thing like you were talking about.
Yeah, and think about it, taking a next step onto social media when you're using local hashtags, and that's going to also, you think about you're going to transcend some of the kind of the craft niche or the boutique niche when you start using hashtags that go across, Bellingham. Then all of a sudden, you're going to hit maybe the news. You're going to get more exposure through that. And then that all helps with the constellation of, quite honestly, Bellingham is part of that SEO constellation for those products anyway. And so Google starts learning that, hey, if someone's from your area and they're looking for a sweatshirt, and you and everyone else they sent to you in the past has stayed on your site for a really long time and may have even taken action by purchasing, they're going to keep sending people that way. So remember, Google sees all. They can see how people get there, how long they stay, what they do. Even the delivery email afterwards saying, hey, thanks for your purchase, probably went through Gmail. So all these things help you develop authority in whatever you might be selling. And I'm going to say, a lot of times you're like, but I just sell local t-shirts. No, the reason why you sell local t-shirts is people are looking for local t-shirts. So embrace the fact that you're an authority in that and sell as many as you can.
And I feel like that could even help you, people start following you on social, and then you're doing this craft fair that's local and you say it on social, and that helps bring those people into those too, because we get tons of craft fair questions. And I feel like that also factors into it. So even the SEO could even bring people actually out to a local event.
Yeah, I love the, your farmers markets, your crafts fairs and stuff like that, because this is where kind of the internet goes in real life, IRL. And then all of a sudden, I think about the guy that, when I run out of local honey, we have to stop our life and make sure we get to the next farmer's market. And he's basically a celebrity in our home because the honey is so much better than anything else. And so I'm not going to only in an emergency am I going to buy other people's honey, because I have a relationship with this guy. We're gonna buy it every single time. My son, knows when it gets low that we have to make sure that on the way back from church, we're stopping by the farmer's market. So thinking about when you can change the way people are working in real life so that they can come and interact with you and your product, that takes sales to a whole new level, because that way, when they see you online, they're going to interact with you because they know you. And when they see you in real life, they're going to interact with you. And so it's just a really, really easy way to promote your business in kind of old school, what we used to do. And it worked really well.
And I totally have a honey addiction as well. So I'm right there with you with the local honey.
Man,
you do not want to see my honey stash. You don't want to see it. Cannot run out.
No, it's really an emergency at my house.
All right. So speaking of supporting people, we wanted to just take a few seconds here. We're constantly asked how people can support the podcast, and we did start a merch shop. So we just wanted to take a second and shout out the merch shop a little bit. So if you are in the market for shirts, hats, mugs, stickers that have a small business crafty type feel, we have you covered. So our merch shop is link.craftingcamps.com/merch. And we do have it in the description below the YouTube video or in the podcast notes.
Did you get the QR code up there as well?
I did. So if you are watching on YouTube, you can scan the QR code in the corner, or we have it running across the bottom of the screen as well.
Here, I'm going to stand up for all of you on YouTube so you can see my shirt. I'm wearing my Just Minding My Own Small Business t-shirt
and I'm
today.
wearing Ask Me About My Small Business.
I just ordered that one. I'm really excited to get it.
So yes, we do order our own merch.
We do. We're just really excited.
I want to know about the customer complaints when you order your own thing.
We actually have a company running it for us, a company local to Fargo, of all things. So
yeah,
that's helping a Fargo business, which is far away from both of us, but we love shirts from Fargo. So we have all sorts of cute stuff on there, though, and we're really excited because, gotta get some merch.
Yeah, and we went with the super soft Bella canvas shirts on everything, so you can't go wrong. You really
can't
can't go wrong.
It's so nice. I mean, I have washed this shirt, I can't even tell you how many times, and it looks like it came out of the box. They
Yeah.
make such quality shirts.
Yes, so good. So yeah, we're excited about our merch shop. So if you want another way to support the podcast, that's a way to do it. And so we always thank you for all your support, regardless of the merch shop, or if you just want to leave us a rate and review, that's free.
All right, now we'll go back to our SEO questions. So, are there things other than keywords that we can do to let Google know we're here? Like, hello, Google, we're here.
Yeah. So remember how we talked about like Google sees everything? So thinking about how you can send external traffic and external links, even if it seems really, really simple. But if you have, for instance, a Google Drive, if you have like a spreadsheet or just a simple document in Google Drive that links to those products, those are literally links. I mean, you're not going to conquer SEO by that simple thing, but just starting to think about like if you send links out if you have an email list and you're sending out new product links every once in a while to that list, those are links that are coming in. When people click on links and the internet spider of links, they can see, like the algorithms can see that there's traffic coming in from external sources. So it's really, really awesome to leverage social media, get those things out on Pinterest and pin them more than one way. Like we talked about, pin it as a gift, pin it as a product, pin it as in action, think about all the different stories you can tell and pin it that way. Putting it out on Facebook, on Instagram, on anything that you can do to get some traffic. And then I am a huge proponent of email. So if you have a customer email list, this is something I want you to think about. How can you use that in a way that those people don't have to search the internet again to find you? If they are like, for instance, I love the small business idea. I run a small business. So I'm thinking about like, okay, I'm going to buy that one this week and then life will happen. And I won't even remember the other shirt exists unless you email me. And so start fostering the love of your email list. I email my people every day. I know that might be a little excessive, but what it's become is it's my conversation with people. And they don't have to go to the internet and scroll for stuff. I'm going to deliver exactly what I think they need every day in their inbox. So I'm going to save them a whole bunch of time. And part of that is going to be some of my favorite products, some of my products, some affiliate products, or things I've just found that I think they're going to like. And it's kind of like that conversation with a friend. Is like if you sat down with your friend and you're like, hey, look at my new shirt. She's not going to be like, are you trying to sell me that shirt? Like, she'd be like, oh my God, where'd you get that? You're like, I made it. And they're like, no way. So like, stop acting like everybody else isn't like a good friend of yours. Like start treating them like friends. And a lot of times you're going to find they're going to become some of your best friends. So like thinking about putting the human interaction back into selling. I think there was a reason why network marketing took off so much in the early, we're talking about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, because literally it was an excuse for friends to get together. And nobody was like, oh, I don't want to spend, $15 on this really cool kitchen gadget. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till the next party. I'm going to get another one. Or I'm going to get a gift for someone. So, and the part of that was because of the relationships. And it's been really easy once we've moved online to remove the relationships from this. But that is our superpower, people. Like this is how we outsell Target and we outsell Walmart, is because we actually are human and we can have a relationship with our buyers.
So we are both like so excited you mentioned email because we talk about email in every single podcast episode. I swear to you, like that is our passion. Please start an email list. Please start emailing them. Make them your friends, please.
And I did
Yes.
want to, I wanted to talk about one other thing kind of in this category of like things that are not keywords, because you were talking about backlinks and all of these things. And one of the things that I recently was talking with an SEO person about was kind of increasing, and I'm going to get a little technical here, your EEAT, right? So
Mhm.
I literally had to look it up because I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Your experience, your expertise, your authoritativeness, and your trustworthiness,
Yes.
right? So Google wants to know that you have these three things, EEAT. You can just search EEAT on Google and you can read more about it. But one of the ways that you can do that is to have a really robust About Me page. So you can tell your story on your About Me page, and then you can have links to everywhere you are found on the internet. And if you can, in those places, have links back to your site. You're basically creating, like you were saying, sort of this web or this fabric of having like Google know, oh, this person on LinkedIn is the same person that's selling these tumblers. Okay, we're going to give her a little bit more authoritativeness, right? Or hey, your project was featured in Good Housekeeping online, so you have that link. You can just link to Good Housekeeping, and that way, if your name comes up in the Good Housekeeping, search, even if the thing's been deleted, it may come up in the time machine or whatever it is. Google will be like, oh, that's the same Corey George as is over here doing crafting camps, who's doing, who has this Etsy shop, who has this own personal shop. It's the same as the blog and the YouTube channel. And yes, I'm in a lot of places, and you don't have to be in all these places, but it is basically telling a story that Corey George is this person in all of these places. And that overall, over time, kind of increases your trustworthiness with Google.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be fancy, y'all. Like, in order to get authority in like a cooking space, you don't have to be a chef, because most likely you're not teaching culinary skills. You are teaching maybe how to get dinner onto the table for 3 boys at 5 o'clock, which I never did do very well. But like, if you can show why are you an expert? Why should they trust you? Oh, I have 15 years experience getting dinner on the table with 3 boys. Or you can see, or like, I really like honed in on like efficiency, or I have made these type of crafts for the last 15 years, or all like, don't, like, we are so easily to not sell ourselves. And when it comes to your bio for your sales page, for your blog, for your book, for whatever, that, don't undersell yourself. Like, put out what makes your content unique, what makes your craft unique, what makes it, the thing that they really do need. Because there are people out there that are trying to sell crap, and they can't tell that crap is not the same as your crap, your nice stuff, if you don't make it obvious. So it saves your potential customers money in the long run, knowing that, oh, she's not a spammer. She actually has a product that she's going to deliver, and she's going to stand behind because she has this experience.
And I feel like for shops, that testimonial, adding something, I mean, Etsy does it for you, but if you have a Shopify store, adding something where you can get those testimonials and let those people tell Google that your stuff is the best stuff out there.
Yes. And that's part of the authority factor, and part of the also, every single word that's on that page is part of the constellation of context around that product. So, because what doesn't happen is, like, you were at the flower tumbler and that purchaser says, I really love the Red Sox. No, they're going to say, this flower tumbler is the best flower tumbler I've ever had, and I was able to put it in the dishwasher 432 times. So Google, or the search engine, sees the additional keywords popping up in the reviews and the descriptions and all those things, which just basically reinforces, oh, this flower tumbler is good. It's sold by someone who's authoritative. The reviews and all the keywords, it just confirms the story all the way around.
That's why we're always asking you guys to rate and review our podcast, if we're being honest. I mean, we love your rate and reviews, and we love hearing what you have to say, but it also trains Google and all the podcast networks to recommend our podcast so that other people can find it.
So true.
Yes, all the rates and reviews, please.
And it's an easy way that it really makes a difference. And so when you do go buy something from your favorite shop, or you listen to your favorite podcast, is spend 3 minutes to write that. It really can really help.
Yeah, it's easy on Etsy or wherever. Just like hit the star and write 2 sentences, and that shop owner's day will be made. And then for you, encourage your, people that are purchasing from you to go ahead and leave those reviews as well. All right, so this is a big question here. Why does Google, Amazon search, Etsy search hate me?
First of all, it's not, it doesn't happen. They don't hate. It doesn't hate. It's a bunch of numbers. But I know it feels like it sometimes. And really, most often, it's either because you're brand new, so you have no authority, you have no history, or you have bad signs where they sent you the first few people and they clicked back because it wasn't exactly what they were looking for. But if you just step back and look with perspective, 98% of the time, it's because you did not connect the dots between what your buyer is looking for and what they're searching for. And so if you just find that you're hitting your head against the wall, I would go back to really looking at, are you actually selling what you say you're selling? Just basic research about what that person is searching for. And if they're searching for those things and they arrive at your page, are they disappointed? Because it does, in fact, it's damaging if you're ranking really high for a keyword that disappoints on the other end. You won't keep it very long, and it's a very frustrating search. It'll probably decrease the level of all of your search terms across the board because it's a disappointment, and the algorithm will be degraded over time. So just thinking about how can I connect the dots between human and product, and that's really what search engine optimization is all about.
And then I think this comes back to the things that Angie and I always talk about. Are your product photos really good? Like, are people excited to see your product photos? Is the quality of your products really good? Is your description really good? Like, all of these things speak to the quality of your products. So if somebody's like, wow, this is exactly what I need, but you took a dark photo of it on your dining room table with your messy kitchen in the background, even if it is exactly what they are looking for, they're probably going to click back to Google and try and find a different result. And that sends those signals to Google going, okay, that's not what she said she's selling, but people aren't liking it. So you do need to work on those things, like maybe your photography and your branding and your photo editing and all of those things.
Yeah. And I think this is where the email list comes back in, because if you can be cycling those new products in through your previous buyers, then you can get those better ratings. You can get those people that are willing to, really look at what you have and spend some time, and traffic coming externally that platform isn't sending directly to you. All those things are going to help you with your SEO overall.
All right. How can you track the effectiveness of your SEO and then make it so you can make adjustments? I actually find this, just even as a blogger, difficult, because I'm like, maybe I'll make a spreadsheet, and then 10 minutes later, I'm like, I'm going to go make some toast because this is too difficult.
Yeah. So I really look at, for the most part, actionable keywords. It's because if you look in your Google Analytics or another analytics tool, you'll see, it could be hundreds of thousands of keywords you might rank for. But really, for the most part, it's not if people aren't actually clicking through, then it's probably not something that's actionable for them. So you might think about, okay, I right now am getting search traffic for, let's say a flower tumbler with a straw that's bright pink and purple. So it's what we call a long-tailed keyword, meaning that they would have to use all those words, including pink and purple, to actually end up there. But if you're the number one ranking for that keyword, that long-tail keyword, start thinking about how can you describe things with ever shortening keyword phrases. Because the shorter the keyword phrase in any niche, usually the higher the volume or the more people are searching it. So it's really good to know that you're actually getting traffic for that 5-word keyword phrase. And then as you go, you'll start thinking about how can I tweak it or send traffic through links that have less keywords but are still on target, so that basically you're still telling the same story, but Google's seeing the value of, oh, she really delivered on that. Now, can she really deliver on this? Can she really deliver on this? And my hands are getting closer together. For those of you on the podcast, but as you get better and better at this, is what I call a keyword ladder. Is you can climb that keyword ladder of shortening keyword phrases, which can make it really, really exciting.
So do you have any favorite tools, favorite websites that you use?
I really use Google Analytics, which I hate. I kind of cringe because they changed about 6 or 8 months ago. And it's like, I literally was watching YouTube videos the other day to find one simple thing that on the previous version was just super obvious. I don't love that. But the other side, the Google Search Console is also really, really helpful. That has not changed. So you can go in and find, and Google Search Console, for those of you who are not familiar with it, is a tool that actually is done by Google that shows the keyword phrases that Google's sending traffic from. And so what's really cool is you could go in and say, oh, this link has these 10 keyword phrases. Oh, and these 3 are actually really on target. Let me make sure that I send out an email today that talks about that subject and sends them over. So different ways that you can get traffic through the kind of that context path to help you keep going up. But yeah, there's specific tools, like if you're on YouTube, there's like specific YouTube tools. And I'm sure there are for Etsy and the other platforms as well. But the main thing is that you just, whatever you have that you're doing a little bit of tracking, you don't have to do a ton of tracking, but I would just say you want to do what I would call success tracking. Whatever is being successful for you, you're tracking that just so that you know the next step. It makes it obvious to you once you see that. And then don't worry about all the stuff you're not ranking for right now. Because you'll learn better how to address that once you get better at kind of climbing the keyword ladder that you're already having success on.
Yeah, I love that those, like Google Search Console is free as well. So
yeah.
Yes.
And I would totally agree with Google Analytics changing. Like, it is a nightmare.
It's absolutely the worst. I almost never go in there anymore because I'm like, I don't know what's happening in here.
I know, like I literally was going to go buy something the other day. I'm like, no, like this is a free tool. Go learn to use it. And I was, nearly in tears at the end of the session.
But if you've never used Google Analytics, it is a free tool, yes, and you don't know what it looked like before. So you don't have anything to compare it to. Yeah. And maybe for you, it will be awesome. We just have years and years of how Google Analytics used to function. But there are so many videos and things out there for you to learn how to use it. And it can be a very, very helpful tool, and it's free.
Yes, and I have heard that it is an easier way once you have things set up, but yeah, I haven't gotten there yet. So
I'm not there. But I guess, like, seriously, if you've never used it before, you probably don't know what you're missing. We just know what we're missing.
Yes, exactly.
You could just stare at it going, I knew this. I know people who say this was better.
Yeah. I wish I was you right now.
Right. I wish I was coming into it without the history.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so those are all of our questions. If you guys have any other questions for Holly, go ahead and please leave those in the comments on the live YouTube video here, and we will answer those in a few minutes. But first, Holly, can you tell us a little bit more about PageWheel? You talked about it earlier in the podcast, but let's talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, so PageWheel was kind of came about because as a blogger, I was adding some opt-ins, people, so that I could get more people on my email list, and also low ticket products so that I could, monetize in different ways. And basically those were printables. But the old way was that you'd have to create like a sales page and a delivery page and, kind of almost a mini funnel. And if you've ever played around with that software, and I'm not a tech girl at all, so like I would put these things together and they would misfire or they wouldn't deliver. And then I have angry customers and I spent lots of money and time and energy and brain space I don't have to put them together, and they just didn't work. And so my co-founder, Rachel Miller, she and I have a blog called One Crazy House that we're putting these products on. and and like literally like $7 to $20, guides and organization guides. The site's all about hacks, and so I was just like, Rachel, this is so stupid hard. Like, why? We have to use this software that's several $100s a month. These takes, each one of these segments of sales processes takes several hours to put together. And then we're selling it for $7. Like, we're in the hole every single month. And I don't see how this is going to become profitable. And we're literally trying to give things away and trying to sell them for $5 and $7. Like, this is silly. So she's like, I think we can automate it. And so she came back later. She goes, I think we need to I have an idea. We can put it, like, do a software. Well, that was like 3 years ago. And the good news is in the middle of us coding this software, AI came about. And so it made our integrations a lot easier and made it a lot better. Because what you now can do is go create a digital product inside of PageWheel. That could be a planner or a workbook or an ebook or, a recipe book, a DIY book, a craft book, like all the different ways you can use our templates, and AI is attached to those templates, so it can write it for you. Or you could upload, if you have PDFs, you can just upload them in and mix and match them with our pages, and we put a cover page on it, make it all pretty. And then what happens is we know what you made. And so we automatically write the sales page and the delivery page and the delivery email. So we make sure that your people get it, and you can set your price or you can give it away. It doesn't matter to us. You put your Stripe on there, so you get the money directly. And for those of you who already have like a shop somewhere, you can do what I do. Is because on Kids Activities blog, I have all these opt-ins already, and I already have a system in place. So if I'm giving something away, I want to put it in my existing system. So I just make something in PageWheel and then download it. But I let it run the sales page and delivery page because there's mock-ups and all these things that are automatically created. So all the images that I need, I can just use from there too. So it's really flexible. You can give stuff away. You can build your list. You can sell things and make some money. It's just a really neat, quick and easy. By the way, that will, like, from start to end, our average customer spends about 30 minutes on start to end. Now I've made so many that like I can do it in about 7 minutes. But that's launching. Like when you push that publish button, you actually have a link to your sales page. So you could be selling it right then, instead of waiting several weeks to get your act together.
That's amazing. So I did put the QR code in the corner if you are on YouTube, and it's packs.pagewheel.com. If you want to give it a try for yourself, make yourself a social media calendar for free and just see what it's all about. And I do want to give a last call for questions. We did not do that. So if you are joining us live on YouTube, you can ask any last minute questions in the chat. But Corey, someone did ask if we could show our shirts one more time.
Yes.
Means I have to stand up.
We have to stand up.
And I got to move my hair.
So if you are on the YouTube channel, these are the shirts we're wearing today. There are several more in the merch shop, and it's and I'll have to look up that. It's link.craftingcamps.com/merch, and you can see all the shirts there. So if you want to see all the shirts we have, you can see all of those there.
We've got a pink one with a heat press that says hot stuff. We've got one that says maker, sort of in a rainbow. We've got one that says I craft so hard I sweat glitter. I mean, there are a lot of very fun options.
I love it. They're so cute.
All right. So I did not see any more questions. You all be sure to give PageWheel a try. I love that it makes we talk about mock-ups all the time, possibly in every episode, because that's like the easiest way to do things regardless of what you're selling. So I do love that it makes a mock-up for you that is piques my interest automatically.
Well, and so you could even when I do something, then I use PageWheel to then write the blog post. There's really, I've gotten very lazy since we have that. So I create the product and it makes up all the mock-ups and stuff like that. And I just screenshot them, put them in the blog post, have it write the blog post. And then the social media calendar to promote it. So it just makes life so much easier. I feel like we're way overthinking everything these days, and this is just a way to simplify your life a little bit.
And we have talked about, have we talked about on this episode on the podcast? I think we have, about having a free download on your website somewhere. So if you do have your own website, that having something that you can give away in exchange for email addresses is like one of the best ways to, grab those email addresses. Like, you don't need to be like me. I think I have like 800 opt-ins at this point. It's just an obscene number of opt-ins, but you can have 2 or 3 that kind of fit, maybe it's a free pattern, maybe it's a free printable checklist of, how to take care of a tumbler, like any of these things, simple things. We're not looking for like crazy, we're giving them away for free, right? Like, so it shouldn't be something that you would want to charge money for. It should just be something that's helpful, quick, and easy win for somebody who has to download it. All they need to give you is their email address. And that is such a great way to grow your email list. And again, all 3 of us are just going to scream at you all 24 hours a day that you should be growing your email list, because it is not governed by an algorithm. And so you will get in people's inboxes. Yes, they still have to open them, but you are at least getting in front of them. And that is just priceless in this age of algorithms.
Well, and when you make a new one, send it to the list of the people that are already on there. And that gets your emails open more often when you're giving them free stuff all the time.
Yes,
So
I love free stuff. Yes. Free stuff all the time.
All right. I don't think we have any more questions. So thank you, Holly, so much for coming on. Everyone be sure to check out PageWell and be sure to follow them on Facebook. We have that in the YouTube description as well as the podcast notes. So be sure to follow them there for tons of updates. And then if you want to join us for the next episode, we have a very special episode. It's just going to be me and Corey, I think. And it's going to be how to navigate running a small business with a chronic illness. So we're going to get a little bit personal in 2 weeks, and that will be on YouTube on May 23rd and on the podcast on May 27th. So come and hear a little bit of our personal story. You can sign up for our newsletter to get reminders, and that's in the YouTube description or the podcast notes.
And then, like we've said several times in this episode, remember to rate and review our podcast. Again, we are seeing those ratings and reviews come in. And thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it really does help us get seen by more people. If you feel like you need to share this with a friend who needs to hear it, please share it. I feel like next week's episode especially is going to be one that people are sharing with other people that they know, because everybody knows somebody who is having a difficult time because they have a chronic illness. So sharing these podcast episodes helps as well. All of this is like really vital to our success. My goodness, too much talking, and we really appreciate it.
All right. So thank you all so much, and we will see you in 2 weeks.